Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Rap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs, it's Biz Rap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Rap Radio. I'm your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining me today. Of course, Biz Rap Radio, the show all about entrepreneurs and small business people. Yes, you entrepreneurs and small business people, you're the lifeblood of the American economy. You know, most people in America work for a small business, and as we pull out of the recession, most new jobs are created by small businesses. And, of course, small business people are great at helping out the community. You know, you want to make money as a small business person. Your first obligation is to make a profit. If you don't make a profit, you're not going to stay in business. But the next obligation you have, and most small business people do this, is you take care of your family and you take care of your employees. If you make more money, then start to take care of people outside of your family. Start to take care of the community. And I know so many small business people that do exactly that. They're sponsoring, the local football team, the local baseball team. They're providing jobs for young people, for students. They're helping out at the local soup kitchens. They're helping out at the homeless centers. Small business people are an important part of our community. And, of course, big corporates, not to say big corporations don't give out money to charity and things, but I mean, let's face it, a lot of those big corporate charitable contributions, they're really nothing more than advertising campaigns for those big corporations. But when a small business person, that guy, that muffler shop in your community, when he gives $1,000 or $500 to the local football team, his heart's typically really in it. He's supporting people in the community in which he lives. But right now, let's get on with the show. I've got a very interesting guest for today's show. Her name is Monika D'Agostino. She is the Chief Consultative Sales Officer of the Consultative Sales Academy. She's author of the book, Selling and Dating and How They Are Similar. Monika, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. My pleasure.
Well, now tell me, what does the Consultative Sales Academy do? What is your mission?
My mission is to elevate the reputation of sales and its practitioners. And people ask me why, and my answer is because somebody has to do it.
What do you mean you elevate the reputation of? Do you mean like we think, like you think of a salesperson, you think of those used car salesmen? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, we actually do. I do a lot of work in the business-to-business world, and even there, salespeople have. It's a reputation that has a stigma to it. Many people who are in sales don't want to use the title sales, and there's a reason for that. And there's plenty of really, really good professional salespeople out there, but there is still many, many salespeople who really, give the industry and the profession a bad name.
Ah, got it. So you're out there trying to not only elevate your reputation, but I guess part of what you do is teach people how to be more effective salespeople.
Correct.
So let's say I'm a small business owner, and I know a lot of small business owners struggle with this. Often selling is a part-time thing in a small business, and what they'll do is they've got Sally, who's the bookkeeper. Sally's got an extra couple hours a day, so they'll give Sally a list of customers and say, Sally, why don't you phone some of these customers and see if you can get an order? What can a small business person do to develop a more effective sales approach for the employees that work for him or her?
That's a really good question. And in my opinion, if you own a business, you are in sales, and sales really has to be the top priority. And you're absolutely right. It's usually the stepchild, and many business owners are not really comfortable doing it. And then, they're asking, like you said, Sally or somebody else to do it on the side. And what they really forget is it's their livelihood. You have to keep a full pipeline, and you need to make sure that your customers know who you are, what it is that you do, and that you are staying in touch with them on a regular basis. And there's really many things that can be done. But the most important thing to remember is that sales is a process. And you need to really follow that process. And there's simple steps to set it up. You can set up a spreadsheet or a database. I personally use Salesforce.com, which can be very cheap if you buy in the most basic version. And then you schedule, calls that you want to make to your clients and to your prospects. And you do that on a regular basis, and you really do it every single day.
That's an interesting comment you make. Sales is a process, and I think some of us we think, well, you're just kind of born a salesperson. Those people who are born a salesperson, but really that really there is a structure to sales. There's a process. And I'm not sure everybody can be an effective salespeople, but most people can be an effective salesperson if they just simply understand it's a process and utilize some effective tools and have some logic and process to it. And you mentioned Salesforce.com as being a good a tool that somebody should use. I'm sure a lot of people listening don't know what Salesforce.com is, so could you talk a little bit more about that and what you can do with a tool like Salesforce.com?
Sure. It's basically a CRM system, so it's a customer, I don't even know what the abbreviation stands for, but it's a database where you keep your contacts. Some people have spreadsheets, some people, we used to have these cards that, the filofaxes and, the little cards that we had where we kept our contacts, and then, we transferred that onto spreadsheets. And now the next step is really a database where you have all your prospects in there and all of your clients. You have their names, you have their addresses, you have their emails, you have their phone numbers. So you upload that information or put it in manually, and then it helps you to really streamline your process. So you would set up phone calls, let's say 10 to 15 a day, or, emails for, 10, 15 prospects that you want to target. And then, you send an email to them first, and then you follow up with a phone call. And you can put that all into Salesforce, so the system is going to remind you that today you have to call, Sally at, Golden Flowers, and you want to talk to her about, Valentine's Day, should it be before Valentine's Day? And then, you put in the system, the conversation that you had with Sally, or whether you left a voicemail or you sent her an email, and then you schedule a follow-up task. And the system basically keeps you on track, and it also helps you understand how effective you are in your efforts.
This is such great information because and by the way, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management.
Relationship Management. But remember. Thank you so much.
When you think about the power of a system like that, and it's only recently, perhaps in the last maybe even 10 years, that tools like this have become available for small business people. Now, big corporations, like the telephone company and credit card companies, they've had these tools for years and years and years and spent, probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, programming these systems. So when I call the credit card company, for instance, the person who answers can bring up my account. It's got all of my information. It's got my charges and all of those types of things.
Yep.
Those types of sophisticated systems, 20 years ago, a flower shop, a muffler shop, a lawnmower repair shop couldn't have afforded a system like that. But today, a one-man show, if you're just a one-man consultant or one-person consultant, not to be prejudiced to the lady consultants, you can have a very sophisticated system like this, literally, and a lot of them are available on a subscription basis, so you pay maybe $20, $30, $40, $50 a month to have...
Not even
that much. It's just amazing.
It's about $100 a year. It really isn't a lot at all.
So that's great advice. Monika, we're going to have to go to commercial break, but
Sure.
If you're a small business person, you think about getting your sales to be a little more sophisticated by having some sort of a CRM system. It's Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio, and we will be right back after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. I'm your host, Mike Manahan. If you're just joining us, BizRap Radio, the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here to help you with your business, hopefully run it more effectively and make more money. And I've got on the line with me Monika D'Agostino. She is the Chief Consultative Sales Officer of the Consultative Sales Academy, author of the book, Selling and Dating and How They Are Similar. We were talking in the past segment about CRM systems, which is a customer relationship management system, and how a system like that can help you manage the process of sales in your organization. And Monika, thank you so much for sticking with me.
Oh, of course. My pleasure.
Okay, now let's talk about this book that you wrote. If somebody's interested in this book, where can they buy this? Is it available on Amazon, or did it go to your website?
Yeah, you just go to my site, and you can click on the link, and it takes you to my publisher, and then you can download it. It's an ebook, and I wrote it a couple of years ago after some observations. I have many girlfriends who are a lot younger than me, and they're single, and I saw these similar patterns of, my girlfriends just, dating the wrong guys over and over and making the same mistakes. And I see it in sales all the time that companies or salespeople are chasing prospects that are really not a good fit for their service offering. And, it reminded me of, how those things can actually play out. And I, sat down and I started writing the book, and I did it, I think, in like 6 to 8 months, and published it. And it's a fun way of looking at both dating and selling, but I think there are some very serious insights there, and it has helped many of my clients look at sales in a little bit of a different way. Okay,
so your website, it's www.consultativesalesacademy.com. So it's just like it sounds. Go there. If you're listening to us, go there. Check out Monika's book, Selling and Dating and How They Are Similar. I'm going to go get a copy of that book, because that sounds very, very interesting.
Thank you.
And what's your phone number, Monika, if somebody wanted to give you a call?
It is 203-299-1645. That's 203-299-1645.
Okay, that's great. So if you've got questions about how to make your company more effective from a sales process perspective, Monika is definitely the person to contact. Now, Monika, you talk about the difference between tactical selling and consultative selling. Now, I have no idea what that means. Can you tell us more about the tactical selling and consultative selling?
Sure. Basically, in a nutshell, really, for people who are not sales experts, tactical selling is very inwardly focused, and consultative selling is very outwardly focused. And what does that mean? In a consultative sales environment, you focus on your prospect, on your client, how you can be of benefit to them. And you're going to position your product and your service offering so it is attractive to them, because it's really all about your prospects and your clients. Where tactical sales approach is, you have a product, you have a service, and you just talk to everybody about it, whether, this person is qualified, whether this person has the money to buy your product. It doesn't really matter. It's just very tactical, and you play the numbers game. So you make as many contacts as you can, and then, hopefully you're going to find, somebody who is interested. Where a consultative sales approach is very strategic. You think about who you need to target, who is your target audience, who would be a good fit, and you really talk to your prospects in a way that you're going to help them grow their business, because they're only going to talk to you if it's actually relevant to them.
Gotcha. So the idea is that, first of all, be a little more targeted in who you're talking to, so you're not wasting time trying to sell people who just aren't a good fit for your product or service. And then secondly, demonstrating how your product or services is actually going to help and be a benefit to the people that you're talking to. Sounds great, and I completely get that. Makes all the sense in the world. I, as a salesman, because let's face it, I'm selling myself. Mike Manahan, business consultant. By the way, I'll give a pitch out there. Yes, a lot of people sometimes ask me, they say, Mike, can I actually hire you? The question is, absolutely. I help small business people all the time and always looking for new projects. And even if I can't help you, you love to have a conversation with you. You can call me directly, 213-675-6157. That's my cell phone. Call me anytime. And even if I can't help you, maybe I can put you on to somebody like Monika who might be able to help you, because I've got, of course, tremendous resources doing this radio show. I've got so many great professionals and people I've worked with all over the country who are very, very good at helping small business people. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that companies make when it comes to selling, Monika?
I think the biggest mistake is probably thinking that salespeople should be charismatic, have a great personality, and that is going to carry them through the process. And I'm not saying that a good personality doesn't help. I consider myself to be a person who usually resonates with audiences, but that is not where my sales success comes in. My sales success comes from me being very disciplined, being very organized, tenacious, and professional. And actually, as a salesperson, you need to be a good listener and not a good talker. And that is where the biggest mistakes happen when companies hire salespeople based on their personality, and especially in today's business environment where consumers and professionals are so much more educated, because you can really go on the internet and research pretty much anything. So by the time you talk to a salesperson, you really need to connect with that person, and you really need to build the trust. And if the salesperson is not able to build the trust, then the business is most likely not going to happen. So it's really not about the great personalities and, being able to have good conversations. It's really the ability to listen to your customers' needs and then being able to provide them with something, again, that is going to elevate and grow their business. Because you're only going to work with somebody who's going to help you grow your own business, right? We are all selfish.
Right.
Let's face it.
Yeah, and that is so important, and there's nothing that annoys me more as a business person than to talk to a salesman who doesn't listen or who doesn't also ask questions. Because what bothers me is somebody starts telling me stuff as a salesperson that I already know, and they haven't even asked me a few questions to find out what my level of knowledge is. And as you say, today on the internet, people can do a lot of research very quickly. So very often people come in and they're already armed with a lot of information. And if you start lecturing them on the basics, you can either turn them off because they're bored, or alternatively, they get offended because they think, well, what do you think I am? I don't know anything. I have been around a while. So So what you're saying is personality, yeah, you need some personality, but a disciplined, knowledgeable thinking approach is better than just somebody with a flamboyant personality.
Most definitely. I think you should be my ambassador. You just summed it up really, really well.
Okay, well, look, I want to give out your website once again for people who are interested. It's www.consultativesalesacademy.com. Just like it sounds, consultativesalesacademy.com. You can check out Monika's book. It's Selling and Dating and How They Are Similar. And you can contact Monika at 203-299-1645. Monika, I got like 1 minute left, and any sage advice you can give to our listeners in the 1 minute we got left?
Well, I think, again, like I said in the beginning, sales should be a priority for every business. Everybody within the organization is a salesperson, whether it's a receptionist or the bookkeeper. If I have an interaction that is negative with an organization, I'm not going to continue to work with them. So pretty much everybody is in sales. And sales really can be trained. We do it every day. And some of the salespeople that we train, if you met them, you would never think they would be good sales people material. But very, very often they are, because we can train them on the process and how to do it well. It really is.
Okay, fantastic. There you have it. Monika D'Agostino, Consultative Sales Academy. Check it out. Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio. We'll be back right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for sticking with us today. I really appreciate it. And if you just joined the show, that was Monika D'Agostino we were talking to. She is the Consultative Sales Academy, and Monika says everybody should be selling in your organization, not just the salespeople, but everybody from the people at the top and the boardroom right down to the people on the factory floor. And that's a pretty good idea, regardless of how big or small your organization is. It's a great idea to make sure that everybody in your company is selling. Well, it's BizRap Radio. If you are new to the show, we are the show that's all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here to help you, the small business people in America, the people who create most of the jobs. Most Americans work for a small business, and yet it seems a lot of small businesses were really getting the raw deal these days. The banks don't want to lend us any money. If they do, they make you, rather than giving you an old-fashioned loan, what they do is they get you to take out a credit card, and then you miss one payment or you get a little behind, and the first thing is they slap you with a 27% interest rate on your credit card. I thought there were some laws against usury, but apparently they simply don't exist when it comes to small companies. Many small businesses finance themselves on their credit cards because you can't really get a bank loan to do that anymore. Outrageous interest rates you got to pay for these credit cards. I had an instance. Fortunately, I was able to pay it off, but I had an instance where I had a credit card and I was out traveling. I think the interest rate on the credit card was something like 12%. I'm traveling somewhere, and I don't know, between myself and my assistant, my bookkeeper, we somehow managed to miss a payment. Boom, next statement comes. They've jacked the interest rate up to 27%. Unbelievable. Well, that's what's happening. And, of course, we have our friends in government who are doing the best they can to put small businesses out of business. That's you and me. And I don't know why it is when we're the ones who create jobs, but they seem to do everything in their power to get in the way of small business achieving what it wants to achieve. And then after they've crushed you to the floor, then they come around with their hand out and say, oh, we have all these government programs to help you, the SBA, and here in California there's more government programs, interest-free loans, grants, and all the rest of the stuff. But hey, there might be some strings attached to those things we're going to give you, like you got to do this and you got to do that. And really what it is, it's just a methodology by which the government is increasing its control over the economic activity in the country. And some people may just say it's circumstance or happenstance. I tend to believe it is a planned strategy for the government to control what goes on in business. But that's my opinion. Let's get on to something that can save you some money. Yeah, I got a tip for you. You know, as you know, I'm a business consultant. I do primarily financial advisory and consulting. I help companies raise money, put together business plans, put together business strategies, help them go out and present to financial investors, funds, lenders, whatever it is. And so I see a lot of companies, and you know, one of the things I always look at companies if I'm analyzing them and I'm helping them out is I look at their tax returns. And I just had a client recently where I looked at the client's tax return, and there was a very large what they call non-deductible expenses right on the front page of the tax return. I thought, well, what are these non-deductible expenses? And if you're not familiar with non-deductible expenses, basically what that comes down to is there's certain things the Internal Revenue Service says you cannot deduct. But the most common one is meals. And it's not that you can't deduct meals, it's that you can't deduct, you can only deduct 50% of your meals. So if you drive a couple of blocks from your business and you make a sales call and you invite the guy out for lunch, or you invite him for a couple of drinks after work as a potential customer, you'd like to get their business, and then you pay for it, you put it on your credit card at the end of the week or whatever, you prepare an expense report. Well, your company is only allowed to deduct 50% of that expense for tax purposes. The rest you can't deduct. That's called a non-deductible expense. And most of you who have businesses are familiar with that, and you kind of automatically think, well, if it's a meal or if I'm buying somebody drinks, then that is just, I just got to live with it. I can only deduct 50% of the expense. Now, I don't want to get into too much detail about the logic about that, but it does sound pretty ridiculous. I mean, let's face it. We conduct business at lunch. I mean, that's a common way you conduct business. You call somebody for a meeting and you meet them over lunch, and it's a way to get to know people, it's a way to build stronger bonds, and it's a way to close sales, similarly by inviting people for perhaps a cocktail. But it's another money grab by the IRS. It is what it is. So let's just take it at face value. They for whatever reason think that you should only be allowed to deduct 50% of a meal, even if the meal is the cost of the meal is incurred for a business activity. But it's trickier than that. This client that I was working on their tax return, it seemed like they just had spent a lot of money on meals. So I asked them for the breakdown from their general ledger to see actually what had been coded to the meals account. And, they were a small company and relied on a relatively unsophisticated bookkeeper for their accounting. And what I realized when I got the report back from the bookkeeper, that a whole host of things were being charged into this account, which was called meals, were actually costs which were eligible for 100% deductibility. In other words, the company, because of the nature of these costs, could deduct these costs 100%. Now you say, well, how is that, Mike? That sounds like the rule is pretty straightforward. If it's a meal, you only get to deduct 50% of it. Well, but hold on. That's not quite correct. There are a number of exceptions to the rules. And the first one, and the glaring one, is when you are traveling. If you are traveling on business and you buy meals, those meals are 100% deductible for tax purposes. So you need, as a small business person, to be separating the money you spend on meals close to your office, entertaining potential clients, and perhaps you maybe take the occasional staff member to lunch when you're doing an annual review or something, from the costs incurred when you fly across the country or fly to another state to conduct business. When you are traveling, those meal costs are 100% deductible. So that can make a huge difference. And what I noticed in this particular company that I was doing this consulting for is that they had charged meals from when they were traveling to the meals account. And the tax preparer had simply seen the meals account and said, oh, well, my goodness, it's a meal, it's only 50% deductible, when in fact all of those travel meals were 100% deductible. By the way, this was not a small amount. With working with the company, we were able to reclassify about $11,000 worth of expenses from 50% deductibility to 100% deductibility. And I have actually worked with other companies where we were able to save literally thousands and thousands of dollars by reclassifying travel, is if the meal is for a company event. And now it's got to be a company event that all of the employees are invited to, or most of your employees attend. You can't commingle clients and your employee. The cost of that Christmas party, the meal at that Christmas party, that is 100% deductible. And yet a lot of code it to meals and only take 50% deductibility, but that's not the case. You can actually deduct 100% of your employee, what I call them, functions or events, whether that be a Christmas party, a holiday party, whether it be a shower for an employee who's getting married, or whether it be a birthday bash for an employee. Those are deductible 100%. You need to classify them separately. Hey, we're going to talk more about this when we come back from commercial break. It's Mike Manahan, Biz Rap Radio. We'll be back right after these words. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you very much again for sticking with me today. Hope you're enjoying the show. Biz Rap Radio, if you're new to Biz Rap Radio, we are the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here trying to help you, small business people and entrepreneurs, make more money in your business and keep more of the money that you make. That's what it's all about. You know, you've got an obligation if you're a business person to make a profit. Hey, it's not a dirty word. Don't let those anti-business people fool you. There's nothing wrong with a profit. It's the reward that you get for serving a need. Yeah, that's right. You realize something. You make a profit because you deliver something to customers who want your service or the products you sell. That's how a profit works. Believe me, if you weren't offering anything of value, then the people who are your customers would not pay you for it, and you would go broke and you'd be out of business unless, of course, you're one of those businesses that gets bailed out by the government, which that's a whole other topic. We'll talk about it sometime. But, you know, the idea of bailing out inefficient businesses that have squandered their resources and done a poor job of managing their business just to save a few jobs really doesn't make a lot of sense in this world, yet you see our government doing that all the time. In the last segment, we were talking about the meal deductibility for tax purposes. And as many of you know, if you run small businesses, you cannot deduct 100% of the cost of a meal if you take, as an example, a couple of miles away from your office, there's a potential customer. You want them to do business with you, so you go out, you visit the customer, you take them to lunch, you spend $60, $70, whatever, buy them a nice lunch. You get to know the customer a little bit, but you go to do your tax return, you can only deduct 50% of the amount that you spent on that lunch. Now, here's the strange thing. A lot of companies don't realize there are certain meals that, in fact, are deductible. And we mentioned a couple of them before we went to the break, and we'll review them again. The first one is if you are traveling. Yes, if you are, you go to another city, you fly across the country, if you are traveling, you can, in fact, deduct 100% of the cost of the meal. Yeah, you don't have to only just deduct 50% of that. So you want to make sure you keep your travel meals separate from your local meals with customers, that are in your city. The second thing that you can deduct is those meals that are really more employee events, like your Christmas party. You might have a retirement party for an employee. You might have a shower for somebody who's getting married. These are great morale boosters when you hold employee events. Now, there's some rules and regulations around that. They got to be employee events, and you have to, make at your company that you like the best. But, the typical Christmas party, shower, retirement party, all of these morale-building events are 100% deductible. And by the way, that also includes entertainment events. So if you have, as an example, take all the employees out to the ball game, once a year type of thing, that is 100% deductible. So you want to make sure your bookkeeper is clearly differentiating between meals, i.e. entertaining a customer, close to home, as opposed to meals that are incurred when you're traveling, and then finally meals that are part of an employee event or an employee function, one of those morale-building events and functions that you should be holding if you're a boss. You should really be doing it. It's important that your employees get to spend time together. They get to know each other. They'll work better together if they have a chance to do that. And you should be picking up the tab for that. Now, there's a more category of food items that is also considered 100% deductible, and that would be those food items that probably fall more into the category of snacks. I mean, you buy a box of donuts for the employees, which which a lot of us do as business owners. Maybe you have a policy that every Friday you bring in a tray of sandwiches from Subway Sandwich Shop for the staff. Maybe you pay for the coffee, you pay for the cream and the sugar, and you stock the coffee room with cookies and perhaps muffins on a regular basis. All of that is 100% deductible. So those also should not be going to meals. And, this can really add up very quickly, and you can save a lot of money. So you want to make sure that the bookkeeper you have is doing a good job of differentiating between meals, when you take a local customer out to lunch or dinner, meals that you incur when you are traveling away from your city and you're on the road, meals that are part of an employee event or an employee function, and food costs that are part of kind of those what I call break room expenses. They're the food supplies that you give to your staff. And a lot of companies do this just for them to enjoy, while they're in the office. And that would include, by the way, if you do have a Friday thing, a Subway sandwiches on Friday type of stuff, or in there, and maybe you buy them a pizza or something like that, just because they are working late. Those types of things are 100% deductible. So you got to watch that. You got to be careful. And by the way, don't forget, I'm a radio host, and although I am a business consultant, I'm not a tax expert. You obviously want to check everything with your tax specialist, the person who does prepare your income tax returns. But I've got this on pretty good authority. I've read a number of articles on it, and, of course, have prepared tax returns this way for companies that I own and companies that I have worked for and never had a problem in an IRS audit. So it's up to you to know the rules. That's the only way you can save money when you are running a business and you're filing tax returns. And the problem is a lot of us, we hire people outside of our company to do those tax returns, and what we give them is basically just our income statement, our balance sheet. I don't know, maybe we print out a trial balance or something. That's what they use. And a lot of tax preparers, they don't ask a lot of questions. They take what you provide them, and that's what they use to file the tax return. And that's a problem if you don't understand some of the rules and regulations. You can get caught paying too much taxes. So you don't want to do that. Well, there it is. That's my information on taxes. Go out there and save some money. Don't pay Uncle Sam too much. Believe me, you need the money far more than Uncle Sam does. Uncle Sam needs the money, but if Uncle Sam just stopped spending so much, I think he'd be a lot better off. But that is a discussion for another day. Check it out. Hey, if you don't believe me on this stuff, just go to the internet and type in holiday parties for employees and tax deductibility, or tax deductions for travel expenses. It's all on there. Many accountants and accounting firms, big and small, have written articles on this stuff. So just do a little bit of research and you will save yourself some money. Well, that's it. We're just about finished for the show. Here at BizRap Radio, we believe we can fix the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulation and a planned economy. I'm your host, Mike Manahan. It is BizRap Radio. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back next week with another edition of BizRap Radio.